everyone! Today I want to talk to you guys about books that I think every girl should read. I'm a feminist, and I have been for literally as long as I can remember. I was a feminist before I even knew what the term meant. Feminist-friendly reading is something that's really near and dear to my heart. It's very important to me, and I read a lot of books throughout the years, even now, that are formulating who I am as a woman, what feminism means to me. I have a list of books here that I would recommend for any girl to read, honestly. I think they're all awesome. I think they've got really good feminist representation, and they have shaped who I am as a woman today. So let's get started. First up, I have a book by Gail, Carson, Levine called The Two Princesses of Tamar. As you can tell by how incredibly beat up this cover is, this is one of my absolute favorite books when I was growing up. It was the book that I turned to when I was feeling upset or when I was sad. So basically, The Two Princesses of Tamar are about two princesses who live in a kingdom called Bamarre. Their kingdom is plagued with this disease that kills everybody it touches. This sister is the one who ends up having to save the kingdom because her sister got sick and is dying. I think this book's amazing because it tells a story of friendship and sisterhood and sacrifice and being a hero when you didn't think you were brave and strong enough. And I think that's really amazing. And I love this book. I think it really taught the importance of female friendships and the importance of finding your own inner strength. Next up, we have Alana, the first adventure by Tamora Pierce. The Alana series was basically what made me into who I am today. Alana is the story of a girl who wants to be a knight, so she disguises herself as a man and she starts training as a knight. She keeps her gender and her true identity a secret, and the series follows her adventure from training to becoming a knight. It's fantastic. Women can be tough and strong and smart and resourceful, and she goes out into a man's world and she does whatever she can to achieve her goals and dreams. It is a total swords and sorcery fantasy adventure, which I love. I'm super into fighting and horseback riding and magic and romance and all kinds of cool stuff. Would definitely recommend this one to any girl who loves fantasy. One of the books I'd recommend for all girls to read. Next up we have Harry Potter, obviously. Though Harry Potter does feature a male protagonist, Hermione Granger is, in my humble opinion, one of the best female characters of all time. She is smart, she's resourceful, loyal, brave. The book where 13-year-old Hermione Granger gets a time turner so she can go to all of her classes and achieves all of her academic goals, and that's just insane to me. And she still has time to help save a hippogriff and a convict, and she's just the coolest. I love Hermione Granger, and I think that she is the best, and I think every girl should read Harry Potter, honestly, just for her. Next up, we have Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. I love Diana Wynne Jones. I think her fantasy books are quirky and fun and outside of the box, and they don't follow any formulas, and they're unpredictable, and that's what I love about these books. And this one follows the adventures of Sophie, who stays at home to be a humble hat maker with her father because she doesn't think that she's destined for anything greater. And she gets cursed by a spiteful witch to be an old lady, and she has to find this really flamboyant wizard named Howl, who is super arrogant and into himself and like just kind of a disaster of a human being, honestly. Sophie goes and basically makes him get his life together and goes off on this amazing adventure that she never thought that she was good enough for. And I think that's really cool, and it really subverts a lot of the tropes that you see in these kind of books, and yeah, I love it. Next up, we have Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. It is the only classic on this list because I don't think that most classics do a very good job of representing female characters well, for the obvious reasons. Jane Eyre is like a gothic novel that's set in England, and it follows Jane, who's an orphan and who had a really horrible abusive childhood, and she becomes a governess for Mr. Rochester, and she's never known as pretty. She stays plain and, you know, ugly throughout the whole novel. There's not some magical makeover scene. And she falls in love with Mr. Rochester, but then she finds this really dark secret about him, and she leaves, even though she'd be set for life with Mr. Rochester. If she marries him, all of her problems are solved forever. She still leaves because he's violating her principles. Jane chooses not to marry Mr. Rochester because of this dark secret that she's found about him. And she goes off on her own, and she doesn't come back until she makes the decision for her own happiness. She just comes back because she feels it's the right thing to do. I think Jane's a super cool character, and I think that if you're gonna pick up a classic, Jane Eyre's a great choice. Next up, we have I Am Malala by Malala Yousefazi. Malala is an education activist for women's education in the Middle East. Her father was a teacher, and she insisted on still going to school even when the Taliban outlawed education for women. And she was shot for it, and she nearly died. She was shot in the head, so she had this horrible process of recovery, and she ended up having to move out of the country because she's still wanted by the Taliban in her home country even to this day, and she still can't go back to Pakistan. And I Am Malala is her story. It talks about her childhood, her education, about getting shot, about the advocacy that she does. She won a Nobel Peace Prize after this incident, and her novel is incredibly well written. It's very interesting. It really helps highlight women's issues in developing countries, things that women are still struggling with today. Just getting an education. She couldn't even go to school without a man trying to stop her, and there's this really fantastic quote where I think she says that we find out what the Taliban is most afraid of, and it's a girl with a book. And honestly, that's true. There's been studies that show that educating women worldwide is probably our best chance of literally saving the world. And so people like Malala are incredibly important, and she's an amazing activist. This is a really good book. Would recommend reading it for any woman out there. It's really good, and it's very, very important. So definitely going on my list. I could not make this list without putting a graphic novel or a comic book on there because I think they're amazing. The one I'm going to recommend for everybody is Miss Marvel because she is so cool. Miss Marvel follows the stories of Camilla Khan, who is a normal girl in Jersey City, and she ends up taking up the mantle of Miss Marvel. She is the first female Muslim American superhero, which is so super cool. She designs her costume to follow her religious and cultural standards, which is pretty neat. That's not a nuance that a lot of comic books deal with. And I love seeing this. I love that she is never ever objectified, and that's amazing. She still goes to school and she tries to be a good friend and a good daughter, and the way she balances all of that with being a superhero and the way she defeats enemies with compassion and smarts. And I mean, obviously she still has giant fists and she still punches people and she still gets awesome superhero battles because it is a Marvel comic book. But I think she's amazing representation. It's phenomenal. So if you're going to read a graphic novel and you want to get into the superhero genre, Miss Marvel is a great start. Finally, we're going to go with a really new young adult novel that's been put out called Six of Crows. If you guys follow the young adult community at all, this has been huge this last year. Six of Crows is an amazing duology by Leigh Bardugo, who also wrote the Grisha trilogy. It's got amazing rep for women. There's two main female characters, Nina and Inaj, and they have both went through really horrible things. Like, Nina's a soldier who literally murders people with her bare hands, and she got captured by an enemy soldier and she had to make these really, really tough decisions, and she's curvy and bisexual and awesome, and I love Nina, and she can still be fun and happy and feminine and still be like this kick-ass soldier who goes around and helps out with this amazing, it's a fantasy heist novel for those of you who don't know what Six of Crows is. How cool is that? A criminal gets a team of other criminals and ne'er-do-wells together, and they try and invade the ice castle to get this specific formula for a client. So none of the characters are necessarily the good guys, but they're totally who we're rooting for, and they're amazing. So Anita is one of the team members. The other one is Inaj. She had a horrible life before this novel starts. She was a sex slave. And to have a young adult novel deal with sexual slavery as upfront and unflinchingly as this one does is completely unique and very important. Naj is also a character of color. She's recovering from the trauma of being kidnapped and sexually abused and all these other horrible things that have happened to her, and she's amazing. She's known as the Wraith. She has these amazing knife skills and an acrobat, and she's got all these talents, and she's super cool, and it shows how she tries to move past these horrible things that have happened to her and still be her own woman and still take her own destiny in hand, and I think that's really amazing. So there you have it. Those are some novels that I think every girl should read. I did notice while I was making this list that it is not the most diverse list in the entire world. A lot of the characters that I featured were either white or racially ambiguous. If you have some diverse recs that you think every woman should read, send them my way and I will for sure make an updated list, or I will try and read those novels you recommend to me because I think that's really, really important. If you have any questions, leave me a comment. I'll be back with a new video for you guys soon. So thanks so much for watching. Bye!